Hi, it's Brandy Alexander with your weekly reading from February 11th to February 17th. I'm a little bit tousled because it's been super hot. It was 38 in our closest city, and it is 31 at the beach, which is much better than 38. So I've come from the other city boiling, even though I was in an air-conditioned car. It was just hot, hot, hot. So I've had a shower, ready, rip-raring to go for the reading for the week. It's I decided to do the Australian bush flower essence cards again. They're really calling me. They really cleared to me because they let me know what kind of what feelings people are having for the week. So I'll tell you what they are. We've got Tall Mala Mala, which all of these cards have come either for individual clients recently in the last month or two, or for the reading. So we've got Tall Mala Mala, we have Bush Fuchsia, which we've had, and Alpine Mint Bush. And there's something like 50 cards, I believe. I can't quite remember the exact amount of cards, but considering there were all these cards to choose from, that we just had these ones that came out. So there's been a sense in overall in the last week with things not quite in sync. Things are a little out of balance, a little out of kilter. And this week is your opportunity to do that. It seems like it's going to be over a few weeks that this is all going to take place for some of you. Remember, it's a general reading, so it won't pertain to everyone. So this particular card, the Tall Mala Mala, it's about fear of confrontation, and there's a sense of some people really need to get out of their comfort zone, because for many reasons there might be new opportunities coming up, and if you don't get over your fear of being around other people and isolating yourself, you'll miss out on meeting some important people, or you will be missing out on some new ideas, or being able to give new ideas to other people. That's, it's time to sort of really step out on a limb, really, and do things that are not against your principles, not at all. It's actually the opposite, but it's about stepping out and feeling a little discomfort, but it is maybe you're going to give messages to people, or you will be getting message from others. I took some notes on this card because it's got a lot of information with it. The people that are of the Tall Mala Mala card, the personalities, they're real people pleasers, and they'll even go against their own integrity to avoid confrontation. So you're not very honest, and what ends up happening with those types of people is that they can seem very fickle, because they'll say one thing to one person and something totally opposite to the other, and that's really just to keep the peace. So they never really say how they feel, so they lose their integrity. So if somebody's backing you into a corner, really stand in your power, take a moment, take a breath, and really go to your heart and speak your truth, because some people are bullies and you need to gain your own power back. Don't let them take it. It's super important that you speak your truth. These people are very comfortable in their own company, so they don't really need other people around to be comfortable, and this is part of the problem. They can almost become reclusive because of this. I know this card very well. And it in a physical way, this card is very good for circulation. Isn't it interesting? Because you think about people circulating to in crowds, but this is about physical circulation, blood flow to the extremities, So if you're having troubles with any joints or limbs, it's really important. And even to the brain, it's really important. It reoxygenates the blood. And it is also good for alopecia. And alopecia means hair loss. And it has to do with hair loss that's not hormonal. It also treats asthma, although with the bush flower essences there are many drops that will help with asthma, because it depends how the asthma is created through the mind. Like there's different types of asthma. It is also cleansing for harmony and having to do with the highest will, like really getting rid of stuff that's not for your highest will. So it's a really important card. It also has to do with getting out there, because you know sometimes it's good for your emotional growth. Your emotional growth, once you start to be able to handle situations that aren't so comfortable for you, it is part of your emotional growth. I just felt by the way the cards were looking that there is something to do with either speaking in public or speaking your truth, because the bush fuchsia has to do with speaking, you know, clarity of speech, getting your point across, and also integration of information. So if you're going anywhere new, learning new things, or telling people about new things, it's about delivering it in a way that people will understand, or you getting the information so that you can understand it. So there's a lot to do with communication there. It also has to do with intuition and your gut feelings. So I just feel like there's this really stuff going on at work or in your life that you need to trust your gut about it. You need to speak your truth about it. And really, by doing that, it'll really free a lot up and help to move the way forward for you, for your life. Like, this is quite integral. It also has to do with being nervous in public. So that again goes back to the tall mulla, you know, like avoiding crowds and everything. So it is, I'm thinking there's going to be something that's coming up that, you know, you're just thinking, I don't want to do it, or I don't want to have to say it, but you really need to get out there and do it. It has to do with dyslexia. It has to do with poor learning ability. So it's giving you the courage to speak out when you take this, or even if you just look at it, just really have a good look at that and breathe that in. Or even if the intention is that you will be able to speak clearly, and thinking about how would it feel to do that. It is about balancing the left and the right sides of your brain. So really grounding, sort of, I can just imagine it all coming through the head. It's really important about the head, coming through into your body and right down to your feet, into the earth. Imagine that there's big roots growing down into the earth. So very, very interesting. I want you to really think about yourself in caring for yourself and looking after yourself, doing the right thing for you this week. It has been leading up to this all for a while now. It's all about speaking your truth and being kind to yourself. The last card is the Alpine Mint Bush, and it is about if you've had to look after a lot of people, whether it's in a workplace or whether it's holding up a family, or you're in a caring position for somebody who hasn't been well, it's it's a time to look after yourself, because you can't caregive if you're not looked after yourself. So this is really a super nurturing card. It would be for anyone that is dealing with other people in quite a big way, whether it's teaching, whether it's a nursing position, mental health care, anything like that. Or if you're looking after a big team in some sort of workplace, or whether you're caring for family and friends, like I've said. This is a time to take the time and look after yourself. And there's, last week I started on those questions for you, but I'm just going to do a little diversion for this week, because this card has questions to ask yourself. First of all, before we start there, this card is for mental and emotional exhaustion, which you might have, lack of joy, and the weight of responsibility. So I find it really interesting, because this is about going out on a limb this week, speaking your truth, learning new information or giving new information, and going out of your comfort zone. And this card is feeling all this heaviness. I don't know what that situation is for you, but it is about renewal, joy, and revitalization. And the only way that's going to happen is through yourself, being kind to yourself. So here are the questions that go with this card. So you need to answer these, and I'd like you to write them down or think about them in your head. How comfortable are you in saying no? That's a tricky one. You have to learn to say no. It's, especially for the people that are the tall mulla people, you are people pleasers, and you need to learn to say no. And sometimes it's only the first one you need to say. Do you have a structured time or supervision for unloading? So anyone that's caring for others, whether you're a teacher, teachers do not get that supervision that they should have. You need to be able to download to somebody, go to a counselor, therapist, somebody, at least once every 6 weeks at the very least, just to get it all out, because you're carrying a big load. And most people that are in mental health will be getting professional supervision. If you are carrying a big team, maybe you can ask to get some help from HR, or I don't know where, but somewhere that you need to be able to download to people, because we can't keep going on like this in the world. It causes too much stress. Are you willing to go past your limits for someone in a crisis? So think about that. Sometimes we do it without even thinking, and maybe we need to think before. If you are working with clients, it's important. It's, who do you want to work with? What kind of clients do you want? And what do you want to do with them? And do you have clear fees around money and your fees? So whatever that is, you need to be very clear about that. What are your limits around self-destructive behavior for yourself? So, how far are you going to do? Or the people you work with, how much are you going to actually put up with? Or whether it's people in your life, husbands, partners, children, how much self-destructive behavior are you willing to put up with? Because it'll affect you. It starts to compound on you and your mental health. And what's your comfort level around intense effect and content? So when things get really intense, whether people are downloading to you with some really hard information, what's your comfort level around that? Triggers. People have triggers. So some people that are teachers have triggers that children trigger them to get super angry or to just be dismissive. In mental health, it could be, you know, you just get frustrated with a particular client. And with any other types of work in businesses, you may, you know, if somebody's forgetful or if they are not doing a level of work, you know, how are you going to put up with that? And it's also important to think, does your work ever disturb your sleep? And if it does, you need to do something about it. Either go discuss it with somebody or, yeah, do something about that. Is this recording? Oh, thank heavens it is. And how aware of you are you of personal boundaries with people and, you know, with parents if you're a teacher, with co-workers if in any profession. So think about your personal boundaries and what you're going to answer, what you're not going to answer. And noticing your own particular signs of burnout. And also, how much do you trust your intuition in a work situation or in any situation? So these are all really important cards having to do with nurturing yourself with this alpine mint bush. So it's really time to look after yourself. Here's another one. Do you look after your physical well-being? Do you exercise? Do you get enough rest? Do you eat properly? Do you have some fun? And how comfortable are you in saying yes to yourself? Now that is a really important one because we're talking again, about the tall mala mala comes into that, because those people are not always yes people because they're very comfortable being on their own and they don't want confrontation. They don't necessarily like being around other people a lot because it can bring up stuff that they just don't want to have to deal with, I suppose, or they just don't want to have to listen to people that have a different opinion than them, and because they feel very, you know, people that are with this tall mala mala, they really don't like going against their integrity, but they do, because they want to avoid confrontation. So the new person that would come out of that would be very comfortable in their own skin and ready to say, well, I don't believe this, and I'll tell you why, and well, that's just how it is. So if you start to speak your truth, you will have a joy about yourself, and you will feel revitalized because it's a new you, and it will give you a whole new way of being. So really step out, speak up, be true. Don't be one of those people that's not speaking your truth. It's kind of coming to a head now. So if you've got that opportunity, you make sure you say it, okay? And until next week, have a very happy Valentine's Day. And really, it's about loving yourself. That's the best person who can love you. Have a good one.